The message arrived in the middle of a quiet Pacific night. At first, astronomers thought it was a gamma-ray burst, bright, violent, and over quickly. But the signal didn't fade. It stabilized into a repeating code, a pulse that rippled through every radio telescope on Earth. Not random, not natural, a distress call. The first transcript came 6 hours later. 3 words decoded from the static. "We seek refuge." The world argued for 2 days straight. Some believed it was a hoax, others feared it was a trap. But the signal grew clearer with each pass. A ship, damaged beyond repair, drifting toward the solar system. And on the 3rd day, another message came through, this one unmistakably desperate. "The galaxy CAST us out. Earth ice our last hope." Governments panicked. Militaries mobilized. Scientists worked around the clock. And when the ship finally appeared on the far edge of the solar system, metallic, wounded, and older than any machine humanity had ever imagined, the world held its breath. Humanity had always wondered what first contact would look like. No one expected this. Beginning. Emily Serrano watched the alien vessel drift into orbit above Earth with a strange combination of dread and awe. As a lead xenolinguist for the United Earth Council, she'd spent her life preparing for the possibility of extraterrestrial communication. But preparing for a hypothetical scenario wasn't the same as standing beneath a window that showed an actual alien craft filling half the sky. The ship was immense, kilometers long, scarred with molten streaks and punctures. Whatever had attacked it hadn't been subtle. Emily stepped into the sterile docking bay as the first of the refugees' shuttles descended, less a craft and more an escape pod wrapped in patchwork shielding. Cameras rolled, leaders watched, soldiers fidgeted nervously with their rifles. A hiss of decompression sounded. The hatch creaked open, and the refugees stepped out. They were tall, thin, bipedal, with skin that shimmered like satin under light. Their eyes were deep violet, lacking any visible pupil. Their bodies shook under Earth's gravity, but they held themselves with dignity. The tallest among them stepped forward, raising a trembling hand in greeting. "I am Valor," he said in accented but understandable English. English learned solely from analyzing humanity's radio leakage. "We are the last of the Ilari. Our worlds are gone. Our empire exiled us." Emily stepped forward. "Why? What happened to you?" His expression darkened. "Because we refused to fight a war we knew would destroy countless innocent lives across the galaxy." The room fell silent. "We are pacifists," Vela continued, a trait considered unforgivable. Emily felt her stomach tighten. "They hunted you because you wouldn't fight?" "Not just hunted," Vela corrected. "They purged our home systems. Anyone who sheltered us was marked for annihilation. The Ilari were the galaxy's conscientious objectors, and for that, they had been nearly wiped out." "How many of you are left?" Emily asked quietly. 3,000, Vela whispered. "Of billions." Behind him, several Ilari lowered their heads. Emily glanced at the soldiers lining the walls, at their uneasy grips on their weapons, and she made a choice in that moment. One that would ignite humanity's place in the galaxy. On behalf of Earth, she said, "You are welcome here." She didn't wait for authorization. She didn't ask for permission. She simply said the words that needed to be said. The Ilari collapsed to their knees, overcome with gratitude, and humanity's greatest gamble began. Middle. The first month was chaos. The refugees were housed across several global campuses: Geneva, Nairobi, Vancouver, Sydney, and Santiago. Entire medical teams struggled to understand Ilari biology: fragile bones, accelerated neural activity, and immune systems poorly suited for Earth pathogens. Human volunteers worked tirelessly. Not all humans approved. Protests erupted. Earth for Earthlings became a slogan. Conspiracy theorists insisted the Ilari were vanguards of an invasion. Politicians squabbled over responsibility and resources. And above it all, in silent orbit, the damaged Ilari ship remained, as both a beacon and a warning. Emily spent long hours helping the Ilari translate their history. They once lived in harmony among the stars. Their mastery of energy manipulation had allowed them to build wonders: star bridges, floating sanctuaries, crystalline farms drifting above gas giants. But the consortium, the galaxy's dominant political bloc, had demanded their allegiance for centuries. When war was declared against an expansionist machine race called the Krillian Swarm, the Ilari refused to participate. Pacifists, they argued, would only escalate the violence. The consortium branded them traitors. We became a lesson to others, Vela explained. If you do not obey, you do not survive. Humanity listened, and many felt something burn in their chest, a kind of anger that humanity knew too well. The anger of someone bullied by a larger power, the anger of someone underestimated. Say, the sentiment humans were known for in galactic stories and imagined histories began simmering in real life. Humans protect their own. Humans protect the vulnerable. Humans don't look away. Soon Emily and her team uncovered something new on the Ilari ship, something unexpected. A device, broken, but still humming faintly with energy. It's a portal anchor, Vela explained. A stabilizing seed. We use them to generate safe routes between distant stars. This one was destroyed in an attack. Emily stared at it, fascinated. If we repaired it, you could reach them, Vela finished. The consortium, the ones who did this. He didn't phrase it as a request. The Ilari wouldn't ask for revenge. But humans heard it anyway. Humanity makes a decision. Representatives from every major power convened. The debate was heated, emotional, and at times venomous. Why risk war with a galactic superpower? Why get involved in a conflict that wasn't ours? And then Emily spoke, because one day they might do the same to us. And if the galaxy thinks humanity won't stand up to bullies, they're wrong. Silence. For the first time since the signal arrived, humanity didn't feel small. They didn't feel outmatched. They felt needed. Earth approved the decision. The portal anchor would be repaired, not to attack, not to conquer, but to stand between the Ilari and the force that had tried to erase them. For once in galactic history, someone would say, "No, you don't get to decide who deserves to exist." Endgame begins. Repairing the device took 3 months. Human engineers worked alongside Ilari scientists, learning faster than anyone predicted. Humanity's adaptability, something every alien story seemed to underestimate, proved its worth. The anchor awoke. A ripple of blue light filled the chamber. "Coordinates locked," Vela said quietly. "Consortium border space. Earth dispatched a single diplomatic fleet. Not large, not heavily armed, but unmistakably determined." Emily stood aboard the flagship Resolve as the portal opened, revealing a tunnel of swirling light. Vela touched her arm gently. "You owe us nothing. We're not doing this because we owe you," Emily said. "We're doing it because it's right." The fleet entered the portal. When they emerged, the consortium was waiting, towering ships of polished alloy, bristling with weapons, arranged in a formation meant to intimidate. A voice crackled across the comms, sharp and cold. "Unidentified vessels. You are trespassing in consortium-controlled space. Turn back or be fired upon." Emily stepped forward to the communication console. "This is Ambassador Emily Serrano of Earth. We come in peace. Your species lacks jurisdiction to involve itself in this matter. We're making it our matter." A tense pause. "You shelter fugitives. That is an act of war." Emily narrowed her eyes. "They're refugees, survivors of your genocide. They were given a choice," the voice said coldly. "Serve or perish." Emily leaned toward the mic, voice steady. "We don't recognize the authority of a government that exterminates the defenseless." Silence followed, long, icy, and heavy. Then the consortium admiral spoke again, voice dripping with disdain. "Earth, a primitive world, a species barely capable of interstellar travel, and you believe you can defy us?" Emily didn't flinch. "We're humans, we don't back down from bullies." It was the most HFY thing she'd ever said, and the crew behind her stood a little taller. The admiral scoffed. "You intend to protect the Ilari? Against the entire galaxy?" "Not the entire galaxy," Emily replied. "Just you." A stand that changed everything. The consortium ships advanced. The Resolve and its escorts held position. Emily's heart pounded. They couldn't win a fight, not against ships with centuries of technological advantage. But they didn't need to win. They only needed to stand. Across the galaxy, many species watched. The consortium broadcast the incident as a warning. But the message had the opposite effect. They saw humanity, a young, comparatively weak civilization, risk annihilation for people they had no obligation to protect, for beings they didn't know. For strangers, the galaxy had thrown away. Whispers spread across alien worlds. Maybe it's possible to resist. If humans dare to stand up, why can't we? Perhaps the consortium isn't invincible. And slowly, subtly, ships began to appear on long-range sensors. First a small freighter from a minor species called the Telnari, then a medical barge from the Siren Collective, then a fleet of merchant ships from the Vile Dominion. One by one they aligned themselves beside the humans. A dozen ships, then 30, then 100. The consortium admiral's voice trembled with disbelief. "You cannot be serious." Emily smiled tightly. "Looks like we're not the only ones who hate bullies." The admiral issued no further threats. He simply turned his fleet around. For the first time in its history, the consortium backed down. Ending. The Ilari were granted official refugee status by over 40 starfaring species within a single month. Donations of land, technology, and resources flooded in. Earth became a symbol, a home for the rejected, a spark that lit a galaxy-wide movement. Emily was invited to speak before the newly formed coalition of independent worlds. Leaders from dozens of species listened as she described Earth's philosophy. "We don't seek war, we don't seek conquest, but we will never turn away those in need. Humanity has always believed that a life is worth saving, even if it's not our own." Vela stood beside her and addressed the assembly. "When our empire abandoned us, we believed no world would ever take us in. We were wrong. Earth did not ask who we had been, they asked who we wanted to become." He paused, eyes shining. "The galaxy cast us out, but Earth took us in." The room erupted in applause, some with hands, others with wings, tendrils, or telepathic bursts of emotion. Humanity, once insignificant on the galactic stage, had become something larger. Something feared by bullies, admired by allies, and respected by those who sought hope. Not because of power, not because of technology, but because humans did the one thing the galaxy never expected. They cared. Years later, when the portal anchors hummed with new trade routes and the Ilari once again flourished, Emily visited their new homeworld, a lush moon gifted by a grateful coalition. Vela walked with her along a riverbank that shimmered with bioluminescent algae. "The Ilari will never forget what your people did," he said softly. "We'd do it again," Emily replied. Vela tilted his head. "Why?" "Because," she said, smiling as the alien sky glittered above them, "humans believe the universe is big enough for everyone, and when the darkness closes in," she looked out at the stars, "we make our own light. The galaxy had cast the Ilari out, but Earth, humanity, gave them a home, and in doing so, humanity changed the galaxy forever." HF